Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our May Dementia Friendly Nevada Distinguished Speaker Series. It is an absolute pleasure to see all of you here. Uh, Welcome. My name is Casey Venturini. I have the honor of serving as Director of Dementia Friendly Nevada in my role as Assistant Director of the Dementia Engagement Education and Research Program in the School of Public Health at the University of Nevada, Reno. And I'm joined here by Director of the DEAR program, Dr. Jennifer Carson, who's a member of the Dementia Friendly Nevada support team. Our third member of our support team, Bradlyn Weiser, is on vacation today, but she is here in spirit. Thank you all for joining us for what is going to be another tremendous session of our Distinguished Speaker Series that we do each month. These spaces are really meant to serve as education for anyone. They are broadly targeted, but we always have in mind our network of dementia-friendly Nevada community groups. Dementia-friendly Nevada is a collection of communities across our state working to become more respectful, educated, supportive, and inclusive of people living with dementia and care partners. And we have 9 communities that are actively working toward that common goal here in Nevada. I see some co-facilitators from those communities here today. Ginny Cunningham from Winnemucca being one. We really have tremendous local leaders across our state who are championing this work. And then all of the members who've ever been a part of a dementia-friendly Nevada community group in your area, if you are one of those members, thank you so much for the work that you are doing and the difference that you are making. But if you are not from Nevada, as I know many of you are not joining us from afar, we invite you to consider yourself a Nevadan for today. Welcome to the Silver State. And we truly believe that the education that we offer through these distinguished speaker series is for everyone, whether you are a Nevadan or joining us from elsewhere, whether you are a professional, a person living with dementia, a care partner, this space is for you. And I hope that you, if this is your first time here at the Dementia Friendly Nevada Distinguished Speaker Series, I hope you will keep joining us again and again. We would love to stay connected with you. I am so excited here today to welcome Patty LaFleur, Jessica Eggert, and Jessica C. from Lorenzo's house to share the incredible work that they are doing. And I want to turn it over to them without much further ado. I do want to share with all of you that Patty and Jessica have very generously offered to have a recording of this presentation available via the Dementia Friendly Nevada website following today. And we'll make sure to send you all an email about when that is available. So you know they are going to be showing a short film as part of their presentation, and that film will not be part of the recording, but everything else will be available for you to watch and share, and I hope you do so. So if you know anybody that isn't able to make it today, or anybody who just needs to see this session, I hope you will share it with them once it is available for watching. We will also make the presentation slides available for download following today. Again, thank you for being a part of this Distinguished Speaker Series. I will turn it over to Patty to get us started.
Hello, welcome. Thank you so much to Casey and Dr. Carson for your leadership in this initiative. And thank you to everyone who is joining us today from both from Nevada and outside of Nevada. We are so excited to spend some time together. We are going to do a short presentation, so please keep the questions coming. You can put questions in the chat. We will leave plenty of time at the end for any follow-up questions or for any other wonderings or thoughts. And we are just so honored to be here to bring a little light to younger onset dementia. So I am going to share my screen and we'll get started with a little framing of Lorenzo's house and some introductions. So let's get started. Lorenzo's House is a virtual nonprofit organization that supports daughters, sons, children, and their families navigating younger onset dementia worldwide. We are so thankful to be here today to share a little bit about our organization and to connect with each of you. First, I'm going to hand it over to Jessica C. to introduce herself as she is one of my co-panelists today. So, Jessica, go ahead.
Hi guys, I'm Jessica C. I am 16 years old and I live in Utah. My dad has younger onset dementia, and so I've been involved with Lorenzo's house for a little while now. I've been able to be a part of Lorenzo's house through participating and also being a youth lead.
Thank you. Jessica's leadership shines. She has been part of Lorenzo's house since we just realized since 2022. And so she is someone who really truly leads. We always say at Lorenzo's house, our youth are our compass. And so thank you, Jessica, for being here today and for sharing about your experience. I'm also joined by another member of our Lorenzo's House community, both as a daughter and as youth programs lead, Jessica Akert.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us today. Like Patty said, my name is also Jessica. I live in Chicago and I'm the Lorenzo's House Youth Programs lead, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. But I really came to Lorenzo's house as a daughter of younger onset dementia. My mom was diagnosed with younger onset in her late 50s, my early 20s. And really found community and light here at Lorenzo's house, first as a daughter, as a participant, and now continue to do so as a member of the team.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. My name is Patty, and I am the programs lead here at Lorenzo's house. But more importantly, I'm also a daughter. My beautiful mom, Linda, walked with younger onset dementia, and I actually reached out to Lorenzo's house as a daughter myself. And I met Diana, our founder, in a Zoom room. And it was the first time that I felt seen and supported and like I had a safe space to land. We'll get to see our Lorenzo's House short film for those that are joining us live. And we are always willing to host a screening for those that are watching the recording. So please connect with us and you'll get a glimpse into Diana's family story. And after my mom passed in 2022, I started volunteering with Lorenzo's house and I became the programs lead in 2023. So every single day, I have this beautiful opportunity to walk alongside daughters like Jessica and Jessica, sons, children, families, and practitioners from all across the globe. So thank you for spending some time with us today. At Lorenzo's house, we support families affected by younger onset dementia, those who are showing symptoms before the age of 65. We understand how often younger families are undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, oftentimes for many years. So we support those who are showing symptoms before the age of 65, not officially diagnosed. In addition, I want to clarify that younger onset dementia is not the same as early stage dementia. Younger onset dementia refers to the age of onset, whereas early stage dementia refers to the stage of dementia. Some individuals receive a diagnosis as early as their 30s, 40s, or 50s, often during the most active stages of career and family life. While the symptoms can sometimes be similar to dementias that occur in later life, the impact can be very different because of the person's age, responsibilities, and life stages. The symptoms can also be very different. So we are supporting those families who are affected by younger onset dementia of any form. And younger onset dementia is growing. Globally, there is an estimated almost 8 million people worldwide living with YOD. And when you multiply that by a family of 4, that is that is 32 million family caregivers worldwide supporting someone who is living with younger onset dementia. And that number does not reflect those that are undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, or their person has already passed. So we recognize that the actual number of families affected is likely much higher, underscoring the global scale of this issue. In the United States alone, we have seen a 200% uptick in individuals diagnosed with younger onset dementia in recent years, according to a Blue Cross Blue Shield report. The rise likely reflects both growing awareness and improved diagnosis, as well as the increasing prevalence of dementia-related conditions in younger populations. This is not a niche problem, and we need support. And this is why we are so thankful for opportunities like this to share with you our short film, Shifting the Narrative, the story of Lorenzo's house, as a catalyst for this conversation. This film tells the story of one family, the Coast family, and how one family story has led to a global organization designed to support families affected by younger onset dementia through support that addresses their unique needs. This film is meant to inspire change. And this is the part that won't be included in the recording, so please reach out if you're interested in seeing this or having the conversation. At Lorenzo's house, we live in this metaphor of light where there can be so much darkness. So to each of you, we ask to each of you, our allies, our experts, our friends, our families, we ask that you leverage Diana's story and the millions of others that have not yet been told to raise awareness and to advocate. Our audacious goal at Lorenzo's house is to find and connect every son, daughter, child, and family to our 3-part support cycle where we heal, we advocate, and we educate. So we heal in community through our direct support to families. We advocate for dementia justice through Next Gen, and we educate for a younger onset dementia-informed society. And so now I have the privilege and honor to hand it over to Jessica Eggert, our youth programs lead, to share a little bit more in depth around our 3-pillar programs. So thank you, Jessica. And Jessica C., who will be helping from her lived experience perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Patty. So you heard a little bit about it if you're here live in the short film, but just to go through more detail, or if you're watching the recording of this, really we have 3 major ways that we heal in community through our programs. That's our match, our clubs, and our summit. Our match is that one-to-one carer to carer connection where we really help pair different carers with a peer of a similar profile. And it can be a single conversation, it might be a series of text messages, or it might be a longer term friendship. We really leave that up to the carer and carer to decide what kind of support works best for them. And so we really try to get to know our individual families, our individual carers, and then pair them up with whatever they need support with. So, for example, I'm just thinking of 2 different matches lately that I've worked with these 2 beautiful daughters who are both only children of their moms who have younger onset dementia, and they don't have another parent in their life or another sibling in their life that's helping. So they are really supporting each other with what does it mean to be an only child, supporting your parent through younger onset dementia. I'm thinking of another pair of care partners who are matched together whose spouses both have not only FTD, frontal temporal dementia, but also ALS, and the unique needs that their partners have as they go on this journey. And they're really able to support each other through that. So it's really personalized. It's really to support in whatever way the carers need. With our clubs, these are our virtual support groups. So everything is virtual, everything is free, so that we have members from across the world. As Patty mentioned, we know there's 8 million people living with younger onset dementia globally. And so we want to reach as many of them and their family members to support them. Our virtual support groups start with our young children, ages 4 to 7. And then we have different age groups up to our young adults, which are 18 to 44 plus, and then also our care partners, spouses as well. In addition, we have our light clubs, which are for the children of a parent who is currently walking with younger onset dementia. We also have our Shine On spaces, which is for those who have had a parent already pass from younger onset dementia. We do the same thing for our care partners. So we have Light Lounge and Bright Brunch for our female and male care partner spouses who are currently walking with a partner or spouse. And then we also have our Shine On Care Partner space as well. And one of the experts of some of our virtual programs is here with us today, Jessica. So Jessica is one of the members of our Teen Light Club, which Patty and I facilitate. And Jessica, I'd love for you just to give us a little outline of what usually happens in Light Club and how do you usually feel after Light Club?
Yeah, of course. I feel like to me, Light Club is like whatever I need it to be. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we show up and it's heavy. We've walked this journey. We've had a hard day and we're exhausted. We're tired. And sometimes what we need is a little bit of light. Sometimes it's sharing a joke. Sometimes it's we do these fun little what would you rather questions or different things. Like we do these little fun things. And sometimes it's what we need it to be. It's just bringing light to us and having a little moment to laugh together, to share a smile. And I feel like other days, it's those days when we really feel weighed down and that we really feel like bottled up and that we really need to express what we've been through. And to feel like these are really the only other people on this planet that truly understand you and what you're going through, and to be able to just have a conversation with them, whether it's about what your parents been like that day or your fears for the future, your fears for your own life, your fears for, the way that this disease is going to turn out and those questions that you have. It's just really a beautiful space to just share and communicate, and it's whatever we need it to be. We often have a guided meditation that we do when we started out, where it's really just an opportunity for us to just ground ourselves and have a moment to have some empathy and compassion for ourselves and to be able to really reset our minds. And we read our community agreements and I always love them. One of my favorites is come when you can, leave when you need. I love this idea that we are very understanding of each other and that some days Light Club is what we need. Sometimes we need to leave or we have different things or we're just tired and need a break. Whatever it is, I love that it's just such an understanding community and it's whatever you need it to be.
Yeah. Jessica, that's beautiful. And thank you. We really do, really every program at Lorenzo's house is for those who are participating, who are experiencing this journey. So just like Jessica said, sometimes we have topics planned, but we go where our members need us to go on that particular day. And Jessica also talked about too, how we're both getting space to connect and have fun and communicate with others, and also really teaching some of these strategies that can help in those tough moments, even when our young adults, our children, our teens, our care partners are not at like clubs. So learning mindfulness, learning using art and journaling as different ways of self-expression and self-care. So that's just a quick glimpse, and thank you, Jessica. And Jessica and I actually co-facilitated many like clubs for the teens as well. And then really excited to tell a little bit about Summit too. So our Summit is a yearly free virtual worldwide event. It's coming up this year on June 12th and 13th. And it really unites the children, the adolescents, the young adults who have a parent living or has lived with younger onset dementia. So we have those from last year, we had registrants from over 16 countries, ages 4 to 44 plus, like I said, and really it's about building community through shared living experiences, building those connections, and co-creating this more empathic and informed dementia society that's really important at Youth Summit. We have youth leads. Jessica is another example of a youth lead. She has led many, many years in many different sessions at Youth Summit, which is usually a day and a half. We offer different times for different time zones, but really youth led. So the planning for Summit begins the July after Summit happens in June, and our youth leads start to meet to talk about what is the format that feels most supportive and interesting and engaging to them. They talk about what are the topics that other teens, children, young adults want to know about, and they really craft the entire format of our youth summit. From there, we work with dementiacators who are educators in the dementia space. So it's different experts. Many of you here might be one of those dementiacators with our youth leads. So those who have that lived experience of having a parent with younger onset dementia working together to plan and facilitate the session. So the youth voice really helps lead where the session goes, and then our dementiacators really bring their expertise in whatever the topic is in the session to make sure that it is really geared towards our community needs. Some examples of different sessions we always have, like Jessica talked about, we always have mindfulness at Summit. We've had healthy expressions of grief and loss across the journey because we know grief doesn't just start when our person passes away, but we experience it throughout this journey. Brain health is really important to our young adults and our children, teens. We had our story, our light, where we really teach how can we write and tell our story? What are the different ways to tell a story? We've talked about dementia justice, and how do we get to dementia justice in our society? How do we get a more younger onset dementia informed society? There's conversations with a genetic counselor has happened. These are just a few examples. They change every year based on what our youth leads say is most important. So that is coming up to very soon in June, and we're really excited for it. It's always a really amazing time. This is going to be our 6th annual summit. And Patty and I always say Jessica has been there the longest, so she knows the most about it. But it's really the work of our youth that lead this summit. And from Summit, we've also created, and Jessica's going to talk a little bit more about this because she was really instrumental in creating this Empowerment Plus model. So we know that there is stigma, dementia stigma in the world that often, unfortunately, we are confronted with situations that can be a challenge with others who don't understand dementia or don't know much about it. And our youth really created this Empowerment Plus framework, which is how do you approach those situations when you might be feeling that there's stigma or there's something just uncomfortable. And so Jessica's going to walk us through the model a little bit, which you can see there too.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jessica. So stigma for families like mine is so real. We're misunderstood, and it can be really painful and unfair. We need a toolkit to respond to these situations, whether it's at the grocery store, school, or our own family gatherings. Stigma is so real. This is why the Empowerment Plus model is so important for young people like me. So here are the steps of the Empowerment Plus model. First, we recognize when we experience stigma. We do this by noticing how the situation makes us feel. Then we define, what does this experience mean to us? Is it stigma or is it not stigma? If we decide the situation is stigma, then we can move on to the next step. After we've decided if the situation is stigma or not, we access our personal and community toolkit with courage and intention. This means we identify a technique from our collective toolkit. Then we determine how to respond. This can include choosing to respond now, respond later, when you're calm, or to not respond at all. The last step is we empower ourselves and others by educating and dismantling stigma with our response. We can then respond with one of our tools we identified while also having empathy for ourselves and others in the moment. After we respond and the situation is over, we reflect upon the situation. One strategy is by using head, heart, and feet like we do in Light Club. Head, what's one thing that you learned? Heart, what's one thing that you're feeling? And feet, thinking about what you're going to do the next time that you experience stigma. Through the Empowerment Plus model, we drive dementia justice by recreating a world where youth and their families walking with younger onset dementia are seen, understood, supported, and embraced.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you, Jessica and Jessica. Jessica for framing and Jessica for explaining the model a little bit. I thought that we were thinking that it might be kind of helpful to kind of model how you have used the model in the past, Jessica. So I thought maybe we could give everyone just an example of how you have walked through experiences while utilizing the Empowerment Plus toolkit. So Jessica, do you mind sharing a little bit about maybe a moment or a time that you have experienced stigma as a daughter?
Yeah, of course. I'd love to. So, I was thinking about one time that I went to visit my dad at his care facility, and I noticed two girls from my school there that were volunteering. And I walked in, and we kind of like looked at each other, we recognized each other, and obviously I'm like, go up to my dad, I'm like, hi, dad. And it's like, whoa, this is her dad? Like, this is kind of weird. And like, I'm getting some like weird, confused looks. And I ended up kind of just feeling really uncomfortable. Like, how do I handle this? These are my peers from my school. And in the end, my mom ended up coming over and helping me to explain to these girls, since they were volunteering here, how to communicate and help with my dad. So we showed them how to kneel down by his side, get right in his vision, since his vision works like he needs you to be right directly in front of him in order to see you, to talk clearly, slowly, and show them ways that they can just help with him and to help give him a socializing experience.
Hmm. Thank you, Jessica, because we know how hard sometimes it can be to talk about these moments, right? They're uncomfortable moments. They feel a certain way. And so thank you for being so open and willing to share, because when we share our stories, when we share our experiences, others are able to learn. When you were kind of reflecting on how you used the Empowerment Plus when you had this situation at your dad's care community with these two girls, the first part was really recognizing that you were experiencing stigma. So how did the experience feel when you're thinking about this notice piece? Like, how did the experience feel, and then how did you know it was stigma?
For me, I really just like when I saw the weird looks and stuff, and I felt kind of uncomfortable, nervous, kind of worried and scared. And it kind of like, obviously, for me, when I see that the cause of those feelings and the situations is some kind of misunderstanding or lack of knowledge due to the younger onset dementia, it's really what makes me realize that this is stigma, because it's this feeling of discomfort that you experience after after an experience that really is uncomfortable because of a lack of knowledge.
For sure, for sure. And for you to be able to like kind of take that moment and to pause, to notice how you feel, to identify that it's stigma and then to think about, okay, so the stigma is coming from a lack of understanding. I mean, that kind of leads directly into you recognized, and then you were like, let me access my personal and community toolkit with your mom, right? Which, what a beautiful gift to have that as like a partnership as someone, right? It can always be nice when you're having these moments to have someone else with you if possible. And so it sounds like when you're thinking about accessing your personal and community toolkit, when you were identifying the technique, it sounds like education became your tool or your technique. You recognize that these two girls did not have understanding of the situation. And so you identified that you were going to have, it was going to be this moment for teaching and understanding, and then you were determining how to respond. Did you feel like did you respond right in that moment? Did you wait a few minutes? Kind of, can you tell us a little bit more about this access piece of the Empowerment Plus model and how you used it?
Yes. So at the moment, I kind of like after I recognized that this was stigma and I was able to realize that, if we just teach these girls what he has, what is younger onset dementia, how to communicate and act around him, and stuff like that. And I kind of really just was able to take a step back and just realize that, these girls are just confused as they should be. And, this lack of understanding societally is very confusing, and that they really just needed somebody to help them to understand. And it felt really good to be able to, teach them and to really see how they would respond.
Yeah. Well, and this beautiful idea of modeling how you interact with your dad can also be a tool, right? Like sometimes it's about giving the language and giving the words and having a conversation. But sometimes even when your response can just be in communication with your person, with your parent in that moment, and others see that, and then they're able to recognize that. And then that leads really, really beautifully, Jessica, into this empowered piece, right? Like I can tell, I can feel from the way you're talking about this situation. I could hear how empowered you feel. I can hear how you felt like this was such a beautiful moment that you and your mom had together. But I guess I'm wondering about a little bit about, when you're thinking about this moment, you're thinking about this this third part of the Empowerment Plus cycle. When you reflect, right? We know how you responded. You responded with your mom with so much strength and courage and beauty. But when you reflect upon the situation and you think about head, heart, and feet, what you learned and one word for how you were feeling and what you would do next time, what did you think about when you were reflecting on this?
Yeah, for me, as I was reflecting, I really just felt, like you said, just really empowered that this really worked. Some situations of stigma, you can respond in certain ways, and sometimes the person is just not willing to understand or accept advice. It just sometimes, but it was really empowering to feel that these girls, you could tell that they just had so much compassion and they were so willing to learn and grow. And as I was leaving the facility that day, it was so incredible to see them both crouched down next to my dad, communicating just how the way he likes it, slow, understandable in his eye, keeping it simple, and just even if he didn't understand what they were saying, he could feel that people were trying to talk to him, and he could feel that there were people around him who really cared. And that was just really powerful to feel that it worked. Like that these girls really took that very well, and it made me just feel so empowered and hopeful for the future that, while this won't work for everybody, and there's obviously going to be people out there that just have more trouble understanding, that there are people out there that can very much understand and be allies on this journey and to really help and support us.
Mm. Jessica, thank you. I mean, I just have to highlight two things that you said that are just so incredible is one was around the empathy, right? You just recognized that it wasn't that these girls were trying to be bad or they were trying to do it wrong, right? That you just really had this empathy that there was a lack of understanding. So thank you for approaching in that way and for the way that you lead. And then the other piece is just how thoughtfully you continue to reflect and how thoughtfully you are in thinking about how it may not always work, right? We can prep and plan and pick this tool, our personal toolkit, our community toolkit, we can think that this is going to work and it doesn't work. And so giving yourself the grace and the understanding and to pause and reflect is so powerful, Jessica. So we have so much to continue to learn from you and to continue to just be inspired by. So thank you for sharing that with us and sharing with the community today in such a beautiful way. And Jessica, you are such a powerful leader, but you are a leader of so many, right? There are so many of us, me, Jessica, who are these daughters or sons or children of a parent. And what has happened to our family is unfair and unkind. And we want to fight back, right? We want to fight back in these moments of stigma. We want to educate. We want to advocate. And really, that is where our next gen global advocacy movement has been built from. So I am going to share just a brief 45-second trailer to get us a little excited about the kind of the third part of our cycle, right? We heal. We talked about our healing and our spaces, but really there's our advocacy, which is our next gen movement. So I'm going to play just this quick 45-second clip, and then I'll hand it to Jessica Eggert to tell us a little bit more in detail about Next Gen. But thank you, Jessica, for being such a leader in this space.
I am a son
I am a daughter.
I am a child.
And I am an ally.
of younger
Onset
Dementia.
Younger onset dementia.
does not wait.
Neither will we.
We are
Next Gen.
Thank you, Patty, for sharing that trailer. And so, really, just like Empowerment Plus that Jessica so beautifully went over with us, was created at Summit, so too was Next Gen, really came out of Summit, where not only do we want to heal in community, but so many of our young people were saying, okay, we want to advocate for change. I know from my own experience, I felt let down constantly by care facilities, by doctors, by community members, and really wanted to think about not only how do I heal myself, but how do I really heal our society and how do we really advocate for dementia justice? And that's really where Next Gen has come from. So the idea is to shift the narrative, just like in the short film, talking about this, sharing stories like Jessica's powerful story can really shift the narrative and the face of what is dementia. What does it mean to have younger onset dementia? So often we feel unseen, misunderstood. Lots of us have felt like the experience misdiagnosis or delayed diagnosis. So many of us are under-resourced, under-researched. And so we don't want to live in the shadows. We don't want to have our stories not shared. We want to really imagine through Next Gen this global advocacy movement. And really, we do mean global. So what Patty has on the screen right now is the beautiful faces of younger onset dementia and our allies with Next Gen. It's not just the sons, the daughters, the children who have a parent with younger onset dementia, but it's really anyone who is an ally, anyone who is passionate, whether that's a care partner, whether that's a researcher or a doctor, or just someone who cares about those who are walking this journey can join the Next Gen movement. we're really working with our passionate allies to think about how can we raise awareness? How can we end stigma? How can we inform research? How can we drive dementia justice in so many different ways? And these faces on the screen are one of the ways we started. So in April, there was the Alzheimer's Disease International Conference in Lyon, France, where over 70 of our Next Gen members, again, our allies, our sons, our daughters, our children, came to Alzheimer's Disease International. And we had many different activities. We had an exhibit space. We shared artwork and stories from our families, but we also had this portrait mural that was on the ground in front of the conference center, which was an open area where many people just in Lyon were walking by. And we had 100 faces of the sons, daughters, children, and allies of Next Gen represented there to really bring the conversation and to bring younger onset dementia to the forefront of the conference. And so it was a visible reminder of all the different people globally that are impacted by this. So anyone can join Next Gen. And so on the screen, you can see either a QR code that you can scan, or Patty's just dropped into the chat too. If you are interested in being a part of our Next Gen movement, we meet monthly virtually. We offer 2 different times based on people's schedules, so you only attend one if you're interested, usually on the second Thursday of every month. And it's just really a space where we're creating this global movement to advocate for dementia justice. So we welcome everyone who is interested in becoming a part of this movement to Next Gen.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. And the last part, so we heal in community, we advocate for dementia justice, and we educate for a younger onset dementia informed society. So we recognize that professionals need more training and young and understanding of younger onset dementia. So here at Lorenzo's house, we have bridged all of our learnings through our Younger Onset Dementia Academy, and we recognize how important it is to gather and codify and disseminate what we are learning together with our families, young people, allies, and experts in the YOD space. So Light Academy, or Younger Onset Dementia Academy, is a virtual learning lab that leverages our collective wisdom through learning modules that educate and inform professionals and allies, transforming how we experience and respond to younger onset dementia. This will include a masterclass pilot series with this 4-part journey, 3 hours total, 4-hour, 45-minute segments, which will include Don't Miss the Diagnosis. It's a diagnosis of the family, putting together a support team, taking action as a YOD informed professional. Really, this idea of being narrated through a young voice, curious, unfiltered, human, reframing culture and connection. So young voices like our Jessica that we have here, blending story and expertise, capturing lived experience of families and the expertise of younger onset dementia professionals, storytelling as transformative, setting professionals apart in their practice. So really this opportunity, this virtual learning lab, which includes symposiums and interviews and podcasts and webinars to really begin to create a YOD informed society. So please join us. As you can see, as you have heard today as well, our family-centered support model is growing here at Lorenzo's house through partnerships with people like all of you. We currently serve over 3,000 family members across all 50 US states and over 30 countries, and we need all of you to be able to do this. So please walk with us and bring light. And I'm going to hand it to Jessica C., who will lead us through 8 ways to bring light together before we close with questions.
Thank you so much, Patty. And thank you so much, everybody. Here are 8 ways to bring light with Lorenzo's house. 1. Connect us to sons, daughters, and families of YOD. We're at a critical point now. As the global crisis expands and the focus increases on dementia, we need to support every young family affected. Join NextGen, a global advocacy movement at Lorenzo's house led by sons, daughters, children, and allies like all of you. The only expectation is to care, and it takes 90 seconds to join. Collaborate with us. Let's get creative together. We can meet you and your organization where you are. If you're partners, expert, become a friend. Follow us on social media and expand our reach. This really matters. You can expand our reach to every country present today and cure the isolation for families. Donate to our mission. Any amount supports us in reaching our audacious goal. Volunteer with us and be a part of the solution. An army of volunteers are at the core of Lorenzo's house. Host a screening of our short film and bring awareness. We can meet you in any Zoom room at any time. Sign up for our inspiring newsletter. Join us as we share our programs and updates in our newsletter, Light the Way. Thank you so much, everybody, for being together today. And I'll turn it over to Patty.
Thank you so much, Jessica and Jessica, for joining today and helping to lead. What a gift. We do have time for questions. So we have included a few forms or ways to sign up for our newsletter or to schedule a partnership call or to join NextGen in the chat. But we do open it up for any questions either out loud or in the chat.
Well, let me just start out by saying thank you, Patty, Jessica, and Jessica for sharing about the tremendous work and just the philosophy of Lorenzo's house. And I really look forward to continuing to encourage everyone who's connected with Dementia Friendly Nevada to also connect with Lorenzo's house and take part in the transformative work that you are leading. So thank you for being here and sharing with us. I wonder, very selfishly, I'm going to start us off with a question because I know that we have members here who are part of the Dementia Friendly Nevada community groups. I know that we have people who are joining us who maybe don't even live in Nevada, but who are interested in the work of dementia friendly and inclusive communities. And so I wonder, from this is to all of you, how can dementia friendly and inclusive community efforts begin to include emphasis on younger onset dementia? And also, how can we make sure that we are not inadvertently contributing to the stigma surrounding younger onset dementia by failing to intentionally include younger onset dementia in our conversations? What are some of the strategies you would put into the toolbox of dementia friendly and inclusive community efforts to help contribute to the vision of dementia justice that Lorenzo's house holds?
I mean, wow, what a beautiful question. I love it. And it feels big and bold. I think that the number one thing that we can do is to include the voices of those that are directly affected, right? How can we have both Jessica's, but how can we have Jessica's experience as a 16-year-old who is navigating this with her dad? How can we include her voice in conversations? How can she be part of awareness activities? How can her family or her mom or her dad be included in the conversations? I think is so important. And how can we really make sure that anything that we are do at Lorenzo's house with Dementia Friendly Nevada really is reflective of those unique experiences? I think that is number one. I also think, what does it look like to begin to develop a toolkit, right? Something that we've thought about as members of NextGen that can be this awareness or education toolkit that could work alongside something like Dementia Friendly Nevada that has such beautiful structures in place. What is a one-pager document? What is a couple videos of a Jessica C walking us through an Empowerment Plus model, or walking us through what is younger onset dementia that's incorporated in really deep and beautiful ways? And so I think those are the two things that come to mind immediately. Jessica, I see you came off mute, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. And of course, Jessica C, you would probably drop the mic with all of your ideas and wisdom as well.
Yeah, no, I loved what you said, Patty, too. And I think I was thinking too about just like some practical things in groups and things like that. Just thinking about my mom's own experiences and maybe like date programs or dementia friendly programs, things like that. Thinking about people of different age groups and the references and the experiences that might engage them too. So the kind of music that people of different ages who have dementia might be listening to, or different cultural references that they might be aware of, and thinking about activities, even like, my mom was very active. So, like, could there be active activities and things like that in spaces? Just thinking about people of different ages and what might engage them. And then I think too, for the sons, daughters, children, that's what we have talked a lot about, what we're really passionate about, because we are all daughters of younger onset dementia. But I know my parents went to spaces that were for my mom and my dad as her care partner spouse, and I tried to attend those spaces, and it didn't feel like it was set up for me to be included, even though I was very instrumental to the day-to-day care and caregiving, but I wasn't necessarily recognized as a caregiver, and it didn't necessarily feel like a space for me. So I think also thinking about the children of all ages, whether they're adults or younger, and how can dementia-friendly spaces in Nevada or elsewhere really include those different age groups as well, because they're important members of the care team.
Jessica,
Yeah,
anything you would
please.
want to add, or?
Sure, I was just gonna say, like, I think just listening to those in your community that are affected by this is just one of those important things, because everybody's experience is different, and the way that they, what makes them uncomfortable or comfortable very much varies. And I very much think, some people are very intimidated to ask us or think we'll be offended but honestly, just ask, how can I help? What can I do to help? And what can I do to not contribute to stigma? What makes you comfortable and what makes you uncomfortable? It's like, really, I really think are very, we are very open to discussion, and we're not offended easily.
Wow. I have one more question before I turn it over to our the folks who are joining us here, and I'd love to actually start with Jessica C. Because this question is about bringing youth into the movement, into dementia friendly and inclusive community work. And people like you, Jessica, you have who have a personal connection. I think it is so inspiring to see you step into advocacy and leadership in this space. And I wonder what you might say in terms of, if you were to lend some advice to communities, maybe in Nevada and beyond, that want to better engage youth in their work, maybe young people who don't have a connection to dementia, or who don't know that they have a connection to dementia, what would you? And this is another big question, but where might we start in really making sure that all of our initiatives are truly age inclusive in a way, in alignment with what Jessica was sharing earlier? How can we begin to better connect with youth who can be instrumental in helping to really achieve our success?
That's a great question. I really think that just making it very adamant that youth are welcome, whether it's any place that you're advertising, anything, just even a small note at the bottom, all ages welcome, anything like that. Just making it very obvious that, because often I think it's very assumed that this is just for adults or whatnot. As a youth, often it's like we assume certain things, but I think just very much making it obvious. And I think honestly providing opportunities. I know a lot of youth at Lorenzo's house and other places, like we'd love to be able to come and like help with different things or lead different things or whatever. Like really providing opportunities to, you know, lead or do anything like that. I really think a lot of youth just really find those opportunities very cool and would totally be open to it.
I just want to add too, because I've been a high school educator in Chicago for over 20 years. I really think reaching out to high schools, youth under 18 are looking for opportunities to volunteer, to grow their skills, to grow their leadership. But so many places reject those who are under 18. So if there are opportunities in organizations to involve those under 18, really reaching out to high schools. So many high schools have service learning requirements, or just they're trying to get experience in lots of different fields. And I think getting more teens, especially who don't have a parent with younger onset dementia or don't have anyone in their families with dementia of any kind, it can be such a powerful experience for them, just like those friends of Jessica's, her classmates who were there volunteering. Like they learn so much and they might be more compassionate in every space they go to. So that'd be a recommendation I'd have too.
Yeah. The other thing I would say is just also thinking about who are those leaders that maybe already are there that show up kind of in that beginning and having them help to lead the efforts, right? The more that we can include young voices like Jessica here, right, that are the leaders in this space. We often hear when Jessica does a presentation, they're like, oh, well, now I want to get involved. I'm inspired by Jessica, like people older than her, people that younger that by her. And so those opportunities as well.
Wow, thank you so much. I know that everyone here must have questions, so I have many more for you, but I will yield the floor here. Is there anyone from who's joining us today? Would you like to pose a question? I'd be happy to bring you up here, spotlight you. Looks like we have
Casey,
a question from
there's a couple
Jennifer.
in the chat. Oh, no, I was going to read the chat box first.
Wonderful.
There's a couple questions in here, and I saw Mitzi had asked, and Patty was going to answer if there's any Nevadans, Nevadan youth who are currently part of Lorenzo's house.
We do. I could pull the exact number. I can't do that right this moment. It would take me a minute, but we do have families that are in Nevada. And actually, we just recently were at the Association for Frontal Temporal Degeneration conference. And so we actually got connected with their the ambassador that serves Nevada and was really strategically thinking about how can we begin to serve families. And then we actually have Stacy, I'm going to call her out, who's on this call, who is part of our next gen and is such a beautiful advocate in this space as well, thinking about how we can continue to reach more families, specifically in Nevada. And then I saw the question kind of right after around sandwich generation, and Jessica Ager may add on and speak to this as well. But yes, we find many of our young adults, we serve young adults ages 18 to 44-ish, we say. They are often that sandwich generation. So they often are caring for a parent and also have young children in the home. And so that is a unique experience. And so our match program has been something that's been so beautiful for those families. In addition, some of our care partner spouses, often what comes up in our care partner spaces is that they are in their early 40s, their spouse is living with younger onset dementia, and they are caring for their parent, their spouse and young children. So it's even kind of beyond sometimes what we think of when we think of sandwich generation. But that often is something that happens. I mean, Jessica, I know you can speak to that. She's part of all of our programs so deeply.
Yeah, I was just going to add that is a big topic within our Bright Brown space, for example, which is for female care partners, spouses, who are, just like Patty said, often caring for their children, their spouse, and their parents, and just how hard it is then to also take care of yourself and balance all of those needs, which sometimes are conflicting too, and how to manage that, especially if everyone's in one household as well.
It looks like Mitzi has another question here. I'll bring you up here, Mitzi.
Sorry, my question was really if the person with dementia is not young onset, but they're living with their child and the grandchildren, how does that enter into a young onset dementia program?
Yeah, that is a great question. It is something that we have heard before. We are definitely really flexible in our spaces. We do try to be pretty protective, though, that our spaces remain for those that are children of a parent with younger onset dementia, because as someone who walked this experience with my grandmother as well and walked it with my mom, I do recognize that it was a different experience. And so we do try to be really protective of that space, while recognizing that it is definitely on a case-by-case basis. We still meet with families. So if a family reaches out and that is what their experience is, we are still going to meet with the family and we're going to make this collaborative decision on if we feel like this is the right space or if connecting to other resources makes more sense. So we would still welcome anyone who is in that situation to connect with us, because when someone reaches out to Lorenzo's house, myself or Jessica or one of our incredible trained volunteers meets them at the virtual door and helps to connect to resources both within Lorenzo's house and then outside of, if it doesn't feel like the right fit. So we are really protective and understanding and try to make the right matches to programs as best as possible. So great question. And we get that question a lot, actually.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitzi. Other questions?
I see Jennifer. I'll bring you up here.
Well, Jessica C., I really love your very simple and powerful advice to ensure that we're welcoming all ages. And just like it takes some consideration and thoughtfulness to ensure that opportunities are truly inclusive of people who are living with dementia, I'm curious if any of you would give us some recommendations about how do we ensure that we're not just welcoming youth, but that we're truly creating opportunities that are accessible, interesting to, inclusive of, in the full moon of inclusion. Are there special considerations, for example, that we should really consider? How do we know that we're opening up inclusive spaces for youth, especially elementary school aged kids?
I was just gonna say I always love I think events that include spreading awareness and stuff is a great way for younger aged kids to participate. Whether it's even if they can't say helping with volunteering with certain things may not work for say an elementary school kid for that age. I think running an event say at a booth at a festival where you had some little kids helping advertise, pass out flyers, spread awareness. And I think just doing little things like that can be a very age appropriate thing for young kids, because they're so great about bringing attention and catching eyes, and they're honestly some of the greatest, best people at convincing that I know, our little kids.
And I would add to that, when we talk about Summit, right? Jessica so beautifully shared about Summit, and our Summit is our virtual event and our virtual global event that happens every June. And our Summit, we have our youngest youth lead ever this year, and she's 8. And she is helping to co-design and co-build the session, but her level of co-design and co-building of the session may look different than Jessica here on the call, right? What it looks like with our teens. So how do we think really about what skills each of our youth leads bring, but what do they bring and how can we involve their voice, not just their voices, their lived wisdom in the conversation in meaningful and age appropriate ways. So for example, she is someone that she has recorded many mindfulness videos for us, or we have even had 5-year-olds who have helped us with like finger breathing and helped to lead pieces of different parts. So I think it's really thinking through what is the goal, right? What are we trying to do in this space? And what are the ways that a 7-year-old can help to lead and build? And what are the ways a 16-year-old can lead and build? And that takes time, right? That's one of the things I think we've recognized is it really takes time and trust and building relationships. But when we step back and we let sons, daughters, and children of any age lead and share their experience, we are always just so inspired and so blown away, right? Like Jessica and I all met, we planned, we talked through each of the slides, we talked through everything with Jessica. And then today I'm listening to Jessica and I'm in tears because she is so inspiring and she is so articulate. And so I think it's when we just kind of remove any of our fear of what might happen and we just let young people with planning and strategy build, we are always inspired. So Jessica, I saw you unmuted and I kept just talking. So
No,
I'll let
no.
you hop in.
What you said was beautiful. I just wanted to say too, I think one of the things our children are experts of is their parent. And leaning on that expertise of their parent, ask them, what does your dad or your mom like? Or what would be fun for them? Because they are watching every moment. And I think about 9-year-olds who talk about how they notice if their parents feeling overwhelmed by conversation and they make an excuse to take them outside away from everyone. And those are kids as 8 and 9 who see that and recognize that and find a way to maintain their parents' dignity and make it feel like they're not caring for them, but they are caring for them. So I think in those spaces too, just asking youth about their parent, they want to share, they've learned so much and they have so much expertise. I know we had some hand raises too.
Yeah, I did see Aruna's hand. Did you have a question, Aruna, before I go to Vernon?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up, I think Minnesota has a Dementia Friends curriculum for elementary age kids as well as the high school and middle school age kids. That's what I had heard. And would that be something that would help to educate people, children who have not had experience and learn from children who have had lived experience too? So it could be a enriching experience for the presenters as well as for the other children. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up as well. And I think that is such a beautiful resource. And just making sure that when we are looking at those curriculums and those resources, that it also includes those that are children. Often so many of the resources, the books, the picture books are not inclusive of younger onset families. We have a book list that we share, and trying to find a book list that's not about a grandma or a grandpa or a great grandma or great grandpa can be really tricky. So just making sure even in those spaces, they are inclusive of younger onset dementia, even things geared at children or teens. Yes, Jessica.
I was just gonna say, I also think allies can be young kids too. Like we often think of allies as adults, but we can have young children that are allies that do not have lived experience with dementia. That children are some of the most empathetic and compassionate people that we know, and I really think I love to see I've children with children and children learning from children, and I really think that those young kids honestly have a huge capability to learn and understand different situations and to be able to help volunteer in different circumstances too.
Thank you so much. I know Vernon has a question.
I was actually going to build on exactly this. First off, this is absolutely amazing. I love everything you guys have done. And yes, it totally brings a tear to the eye, 100%. But as you know, as someone who is newer to this community, I've been involved for the last couple of years. Like I have not seen this, but I know I will see it right over time. So, what resources do we have? And maybe this is a question for Casey also, right? Of how do we get teachers involved? Because I've got to imagine, like I was lucky enough not to be affected by something like this, but I've got to imagine the children are going to have all sorts of hardships that teachers may not recognize. So, how do we get teachers involved? How do we teach them? And then, kind of to Jessica's point, right? Children are amazing. And yes, they are empathetic. And we should all be like 5-year-olds sometimes, right? When they're being in their empathetic, good space, right? I've got a couple 30-year-olds, so I remember. But I would think it would be such a growth opportunity and would really help battle the stigma if it became almost if it could become almost class project wide, or having everyone understand. I know that's very personal, so maybe it doesn't happen, but at least for the teacher to know about the child, and maybe it does expand beyond that for their friends or whatever. I just think it's a great opportunity to really start that education early.
Thank you. Jessica, go ahead. You went off mute. You can go first.
I was just gonna say, I was remembering one of our youth that was saying a while ago about how they did some sort of class project. I'm trying to remember, or no, it might have even been a fundraiser. It was something like that, and it was this child was very bravely sharing their story, and they had other youth in their school that were helping them, and they all, as a class, decided that this was going to be this year's group project fundraiser, whatever it was. But just like I think more opportunities like that in the school, where really involving, lots of it just really brings in a lot of kids, and it makes it their cause too, and it makes it really important to them, where they chose this as their cause to help advocate and raise money for.
Yeah, I think, Jessica, exactly. It's this, but then how do we take that one project that happened in one school in the suburbs of Chicago, and how does that get replicated across the US or across the globe to really support classrooms everywhere? I mean, I think, Vernon, that's something that we hear, it's so interesting when I have the opportunity to see all the inquiries that come in each month. We get about 150 monthly inquiries from both families and partners, and we're looking for a referral, right? And so there's teachers that are reaching out that I have this student in my class whose parent has younger onset dementia, and I went to Google and I was looking for any resources. So how can we get ahead of that so that teachers or school professionals know that there are these resources? And so how do we build a toolkit leaning into our girl Jessica and her expertise as a daughter herself to think about what would be helpful, right? What would be helpful for a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old? And how do we build out a toolkit that could be in partnership with Dementia Friendly Nevada or Dementia Friendly America, that could be a piece of how we begin to raise awareness that is scalable, and leans into, as Jessica's point, right, young people taking the lead and taking the leadership. And it's not just one classroom, but it's kind of this piece of supporting kids everywhere.
Sounds like a great PhD project, Casey, for someone there at the university.
I love that idea, Verdon. And this is where I'll say I also think that the Dementia Friendly America network can really come into play in amplifying some of the stories that stories like the one that you mentioned, Jessica, and doing exactly what you say, Patty, and making it sort of go past the school walls, right, and start to become a movement of young people and teachers across the country. Because at least just within Nevada, what we know is our network of community groups in Nevada, when we have a successful initiative in one of those community groups, one of the best things about our statewide initiative is that we can facilitate the cross-pollination of ideas, and we can, what goes really successfully in Winnemucca can maybe be an idea for Story County. And that's a wonderful, like creating that communication network is a wonderful thing. I think Dementia Friendly America can do that as well. And so if we engage dementia friendly communities in this work, and they meet with success, which I'm sure that they would, then those stories of success can trickle up to the newsletters and the summits hosted by Dementia Friendly America, and then can trickle back down into communities across the country. And Aruna brought up a great program, Dementia Friends, which is an introductory information session that really thinks about, or really talks about, the basics of dementia and how to connect with people living with dementia in a manner, very akin to the strategies that you shared earlier, Jessica. So I think those intuitively, but you point out that a lot of people don't, and so Dementia Friends is a really wonderful program that helps to communicate some of that approach. And there are tailored versions for young learners, for both elementary school students and high school students. I think what you said, Patty, is really important in making sure that we are including conversation about the fact that young people can be children of people living with dementia as well, not just grandchildren. But I see that if we maybe take, for example, that Dementia Friends for Youth program, and then have really successful stories like we've had here in Nevada. We've had interns through the DEAR program host Dementia Friends information sessions with local schools very, very successfully, engaging young learners, engaging teachers. And if we then make the commitment to share those stories, let them be shared more broadly, and then be a resource for other localities, other schools, other states that want to do similar work. I think we can begin to support each other in extending that impact. So I just really want to thank you for all that you've shared. I want to end us with one question here, though, before I let you go, and because I didn't see anything else, unless something came up.
Yeah.
There is one more from
Mitzi.
Mitzi. Have you talked with the major nonprofit organizations, Alzheimer's Association, Association for Frontotemporal Dementia, the Lewy Body Dementia Association, organizations like that?
Yeah, we have some really beautiful partnerships with Alzheimer's Association, more on a chapter by chapter basis, kind of depending on where we have families and those pieces. And then with FTD, the AFTD has been an incredible partnership, especially because that is one of the more common forms for those diagnosed under the age of 60. So we have a beautiful relationship and partnership, and same with the Lewy Body Dementia Society. So thank you for that. That is so, partners are critical.
Oh, and I am so appreciative of your commitment to partnership, because we can only do this together. That is true. Well, like I said, I'm really excited to leave you with one question, and you brought up a phrase that really resonates with me, and that is dementia justice. And I love that featured so prominently in your presentation. And I wonder if, as the last thing we discussed today, I might invite each of you to just share your vision of what a dementia just world looks like and feels like.
For sure. We love this question. And I just also have to name that this is a question that came from our young people, from our sons, daughters, and children. They're like, what about if we put the word dementia in front of the word justice and we think about what that means? And so everyone, Jessica, me and Jessica, all of our answers I know are going to be different. My answer is that dementia justice means that families can find each other. This journey is so isolating and confusing and so hard. So when we can find each other, we can begin to stitch ourselves back up. And so for me, that's what dementia justice is that young families find each other. I'm going to hand it to Jessica Eggert, because we're going to close with Jessica Christensen, because we know it'll be a mic drop. So Jessica E., go ahead.
Yeah, I think about dementia justice as, my experience was we kind of got the diagnosis from a neurologist, and then it was like, good luck out there. We'll see you in a year when we retest. So for me, dementia justice is that once a family faces a diagnosis, instead of feeling alone, they feel a supportive community around them. They know where to find resources to support them both practically and emotionally in community.
Thank you, Jessica. And Jessica?
Yeah, for me, dementia justice is a world where families like mine really like fit in, you know, and like where we're accepted, where we can, you know, in the earlier stages with my dad, where I would have loved to be able to go out in public with my dad and have him have his different, unique, weird behaviors that have been deemed societally unacceptable, and to be able to feel really accepted and to feel understanding and non-judgment from other people, and also to have peers and people around me that don't have lived experience to be able to understand me and to understand the grief along the journey and all the different unique emotions and feelings that come along with the diagnosis.
Well, I know that with the work that you are all doing, you will achieve that world, and are already going so far toward that goal. So thank you so much, Jessica, and Patty, for being here today. I am thrilled to stay in touch and support the work of Lorenzo's House. And as I mentioned, I encourage everyone who is here to do so as well. And please share information with your network. So thank you for being with us. With that, I will go ahead and close our distinguished speakers series today. Thank you all for being with us, for joining us here. Like I said, I hope that you come back, even if you're not a Nevadan. This space is for you. Next month we have another incredible session lined up. So be on the lookout for news about that. Thank you all for your time. I wish you a wonderful rest of your month of May. And we will see you back next month. Thank you very much.